Top 10 PS4 games of all time. Number 10. Metal Gear Solid 5: The Phantom Pain. Metal Gear Solid 5: The Phantom Pain is without question the most ambitious entry in the Metal Gear series. So ambitious, in fact, that it's something of an unfinished masterpiece. On top of rock-solid movement and a huge, sometimes literal, sandbox to explore, the Phantom Pain gives players a huge arsenal of weapons, vehicles, gadgets, and AI companions to approach missions creatively. As always, stealthy tactical gameplay is rewarded heavily, but if a mission goes sideways, the game doesn't punish you too hard for getting loud and messy. Even if you've never played another Metal Gear game, this is a hell of an experience. Number 9. Uncharted 4: A Thief's End. Uncharted 4 is Uncharted all grown up, an examination of what happens when Nathan Drake's Indiana Jones-style antics come face to face with his adult responsibilities. It manages to reckon with this and then some, juggling delicate relationship dynamics with ridiculously fun action sequences and breathtaking vistas, ripe for exploring and pillaging. Though it gets a little bogged down by an overly long final act, Uncharted 4 is still one of the best action-adventure games of all time, and one of the best PlayStation 4 games ever. Number 8. Red Dead Redemption 2. Both a stunning technical achievement and a gold standard for video game storytelling in an open-world setting, Red Dead Redemption 2 is one of the greatest games Rockstar Games has ever made, and one of the greatest games ever, period. Red Dead Redemption 2's world is a sprawling and stunning recreation of the Wild West, packed so full of detail and activity it's almost haunting. Getting from A to B is virtually impossible without going off the beaten path to some other distraction. Said distractions are incredibly accomplished. 2 side quests, mini-games, hunting, and gathering are all deeply considered parts of Red Dead 2 in their own right. Red Dead Redemption 2 is nothing short of a masterpiece. Number 7. Marvel's Spider-Man. Marvel's Spider-Man is a masterclass in comic book joy, an expertly built world that perfectly encapsulates the childlike wonder of looking up at the looming, inspiring skylines of New York City, and the superhero-like triumph of effortlessly scaling the tallest buildings in the Big Apple. It's a game about Spider-Man made by people who deeply, truly, genuinely adore Spider-Man, from his costumes to his friends, foes, and family. Marvel's Spider-Man is a gorgeous technical triumph that is utterly sublime to play. 1 second you'll be zipping webs above a crowded midtown street, hoisting yourself up into the sunset, and flawlessly dashing between giant skyscrapers. The next, dive kicking a thug from a mile in the air, chaining combos between his criminal cohorts, webbing them to walls, and leaping back towards the rooftops without ever touching the ground. The simple act of soaring and flipping through the city is so satisfying and addictive that you likely want to explore every corner of it and nab every collectible before even finishing the story. Once you do decide to settle down and move the narrative forward, you'll find a heartwarming story of love and loss, awkward adolescence, and tons of ass-kicking. Along the way, you'll unlock iconic Spider-Man suits, take down nefarious villains in gigantic, explosive set pieces, and bask in the realization that the modern comic book movie renaissance that we're all so gleefully enjoying has finally made its way back to video games. Number 6. Grand Theft Auto 5. Rockstar's latest and greatest open-world felony simulator made its debut at the tail end of the last console generation, handily breaking records as the fastest-selling entertainment product in history, so it's no surprise that it got ported to current gen. What is surprising, perhaps, is just how much of an upgrade it got in the process. Up-res textures, totally overhauled lighting effects, and a fully functional first-person option were just some of the litany of updates and tweaks to the series' biggest and best game yet. Whether you're after a sprawling single-player campaign that provides a ruthless skewering of 21st-century American life, or a multiplayer component with years of big free updates and an extremely active community, or just a sandbox where you can do crimes either alone or with friends, Grand Theft Auto V and GTA Online really does offer something for everyone. Number 5. Persona 5 Royal. A massive gorgeous JRPG, Persona 5 set a high bar for the genre, and 2020's Persona 5 Royal re-release pushes that bar even higher. An engrossing adventure brimming with style and flair, Persona 5 sees you navigating school life by day and descending into the corrupted minds of Tokyo's more villainous citizens by night in order to coerce them away from their corrupt endeavors. The students who make up Persona 5's ensemble cast leave an indelible mark as they are introduced and further become embroiled in the exploits of the Phantom Thieves. Persona 5 does a great job of balancing the two facets of its gameplay, letting players really dive into the social connections in the real world, and allowing those to influence the dungeon exploration and turn-based action of its massive and varied mind palaces. Coupled with a continually engaging combat system, a soundtrack full of earworms, its twisty, wild story, and plenty of additional content on top of the base game, Persona 5 Royal delivers one of the deepest JRPGs of the generation, if not of all time. Number 4. The Witcher 3: Wild Hunt. CD Projekt Red's sprawling fantasy epic has become one of the most noteworthy games of all time, one that set a new standard for open-world RPGs. With a grim yet gorgeous world that stretches across the better part of an entire continent, every corner, cave, swamp or city street of The Witcher 3 has something to discover. Its 60-plus-hour main story is a great adventure, full of mystery and intrigue that draws from the deep lore of author Andrzej Sapkowski's books, but it's Geralt's expertly crafted side stories, monster hunts and offbeat adventures that really make The Witcher 3, and its two huge expansions, truly exceptional. It's a game where you can easily get lost for hundreds of hours and still not see everything it has to offer, but every one of those hours will be absolutely worth it. Number 3. Bloodborne. Bloodborne is a brutally difficult, immensely terrifying action horror game that will immediately kick your ass. You'll spawn, die, and repeat until you throw your controller, swear at your television, and vow to walk away forever. Once outside the dim confines of Bloodborne's dense, evil, snarling network of contorted beasts, wretched howls, and stark raving murderous lunatics, you'll enjoy a quiet, cheerful walk amidst the sunshine in the real world, free from Bloodborne's punishing ways. But a voice in your head will begin to ring and linger, calling you back, urging you to return, push forward, and conquer. And when you do, you'll find yourself improved and fueled, patient and energized, ready to tackle its grizzled hairy bosses, rotting cathedrals, and wet corrupt catacombs. Then you'll die again, but this time you'll be stronger, wiser, and older, and prepared for the foulest of beasts to leap from the shadows and tear you apart all over again. Bloodborne is a horrible, vile world where every reward brings risks, and fear is palpable. And while its challenges feel insurmountable and out of reach, your skill and determination will eventually prevail, and you'll press forward through the night. Death is frequent. Frustration is certain. But ultimately, victory is possible, and when achieved, becomes one of the greatest feelings in the world. Number 2. Last of Us Part 2. The follow-up to 2013's The Last of Us is the pinnacle of Naughty Dog's storytelling ambitions during the life of the PS3 and PS4. Part 2's ambitious, uncompromising story delivers at nearly every unexpected turn, with character arcs that are poignant, risky, and devastating. Naughty Dog asks you, the player, to do your best to reckon with morally ambiguity in ways that have evoked some of the strongest across-the-board reactions that we've seen from any game ever. It's also perhaps Naughty Dog's most mechanically complex game to date, and its stealth and action systems delivers moment after moment that feel like they should be scripted, but are instead entirely dynamic. It may be one of the more divisive games of the generation, but it's also one of the best, an absolute haymaker of a game we still can't stop thinking about. Number 1. God of War. 2018's God of War shows an obvious level of care that went into crafting its world, characters, and gameplay, evolving a long-standing PlayStation franchise into a testament to the power of storytelling in games, and making it our choice for the best PlayStation 4 game, period. Every aspect of God of War feels intentional, interconnecting with every other major aspect of the game, making exploring every inch of its world a rewarding opportunity. Everything from the main story to side missions and seemingly innocuous collectibles factor into your understanding of this new Acer-inspired world, and its major players. It somehow never makes any of that feel like a dry history lesson, though, and God of War is constantly making smart, economical use of storytelling. It's also just such a fun experience, with the new Leviathan axe being one of the most satisfying game weapons we've used since we originally picked up the Blades of Chaos back in 2005. Bundled with smart progression, fascinating environments, and an impactful story that offers an insightful exploration of one of gaming's most notorious anti-heroes, God of War is undoubtedly one of the best experiences of the generation as a whole, and a shining example of what the PlayStation 4 has to offer.